Welcome to the Operator's Table. I'm your host, Cris Morgado. This show digs into the real systems and stories behind growth in food, beverage, and logistics. Today, we're very privileged to have Desmond Clark, president of Bear Down Logistics, former NFL Titan with the Chicago Bears, and now leadership coach at Des Clark Speaks. Desmond, it's great to have you here. So where are you calling from today?
I am coming in from Winter Garden, Florida, so that's right near Orlando. I live like a stone's throw away from the Magic Kingdom property.
Okay. So are you a big Disney fan?
Not really. I haven't been over there in years. I'm more of a Universal Studios fan.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good to know. Awesome. So the arc for today, we're going to talk a little bit about your origin story, what's working for you, any friction points, leadership and culture, a little bit of the freight playbook that you have, goals for the next 6 to 12 months, and then a lightning close, and we'll try to wrap it up in a
Okay.
nice kind of podcast that the users will like to see it. So I saw this quote of yours, and I think it's really profound. And it goes something along the lines that success is not just about talent or luck. It's about your unwavering determination to push through challenges and adversity. Every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. When faced with setbacks, it's essential to remember that these moments define our character and shape our journey. Embrace the struggle. I like this quote. So how central is this to your core life philosophy, you'll say?
It's pretty much one of the things that I think for myself, it's a very, very strong belief because we all know that life doesn't move linear, right? We all understand that there's ups and downs in life. We all understand that there's going to be setbacks. You're going to have good times, bad times, times when, hey, success is just coming in, pouring in, and then all of a sudden, boom, you hit a downturn. And so one of the things that I've tried to always maintain with my mindset is if we know that is part of life and we can expect that to be part of life, well, when the downturn comes, we can't go into the tank. We can't go into the tank because we have adversity. We can't go into the tank because we have an obstacle now that we have to get over. We knew this was coming. And so having that mindset of, man, okay, now here's the obstacle. Here's the adversity. I had a good run of success. Now I got adversity. Now what do I need to do? And I feel like those obstacles and that adversity and those roadblocks that get in the way, those are the things that make you better in life if you attack them the right way. If you, like I say, learning how to win, and the definition of win is to gain or succeed through struggle. And that's the struggle. And if you get past that struggle, you just continue to win. So I just feel like that's the best way for me to go out and approach life, knowing that I'm going to have adversity and obstacles, but also when they come, not getting down, but looking at them like, okay, now how do I overcome? And then I know that's going to make me better.
Yeah, that's profound. That's awesome. Because I think one can tell a lot from someone's analogies. And for me, when someone asks me, what's my analogy for life? I say it's like a roller coaster because you just try to enjoy the ride, but it's inevitable. You're going to have ups and downs along the way. So without adversity, sometimes triumph is not possible because sometimes it's through the hardship that the real growth happens. So yeah, I share the same view. Now, because this podcast is aimed at people that want also to break in the industry and they want to be the future leaders and entrepreneurs, for me, it's quite interesting to hear from leaders in the space and particularly founders. What was the spark? When did it spark for you that you're going to do it your way and then you're going to be an entrepreneur?
So I think I've always had that entrepreneur mindset. When I was playing in NFL, I had my hands in a bunch of different businesses, which, if I'm just being honest and truthful, they all failed. But I think the reason that they failed is because I didn't have the time and the focus to dedicate it to it because I was doing something else. And that's where my time and my energy was focused. And now that I'm solely focused on Bear Down Logistics and my fingerprints are on everything, I feel like that's one of the reasons why it's been successful and still growing. So I think I've always had that. Even when I got out of the NFL, I was a financial advisor for a while. I was in real estate for a while. But all of those industries that I was in, I was reliant upon myself for my income. I never had a salary. It was always my book of business. So that's the way I would like it. If I got to bet on myself, if my livelihood is going to depend on my effort Okay, game on. Let's go do it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I guess you've been playing football and you then moved into entrepreneurship. I'm interested to know, was there a mentor, one particular mentor, either in football or in business, that said or did something that had a mark on you?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of mentors throughout the years, and that's why I believe I've been the most luckiest or blessed, however you want to put that. You know, from coaches coming up to watching my mom, you know, rebuild our lives, her life, to watching my dad go through the journey that he went through with drug addiction and come out of that, to getting to college with Coach Caldwell, and then going on to the being in the pros with all the coaches that I had, especially Lovie Smith, watching, you know, how he conducts himself and the way that he does things, and then getting into the business world. I'll tell you, one of my more influential, and I'm gonna call him a brother because we're like brothers. Manny Amezcua, he is the CEO of Mass Mutual Great Lakes, and he recruited me in to start a partnership with him when we were both in Chicago. He's gone on to blow that thing up since he moved to Detroit. But his mindset that I was able to watch, the confidence and the way that he thought about things. So a quick story, when I was in the financial world, I had this mental block. I didn't want to approach people, especially people with high profile, CEOs, CFOs, you know, people, big people in these companies. And I told them, I was like, man, I'm just having, because I don't want anybody thinking that I'm just after their wallets, because that was me on the other side of it before. And I was like, I'm a little intimidated. And he just broke it down simply and said, Desmond, you play NFL football for 12 years. You don't think people are intimidated to come into your presence and speak to you and ask you questions? I was like, yeah, see that, you know, often. He said, how would you want them to approach you? I was like, just come up and say hello. You know, I know you know who you are. I appreciate you, what you did with the Chicago Bears. You know, I'm a fan and just want to say hello. And hell, we out somewhere. Let's have a beer together. And he said, that's the same way Joe CEO and every other big time person that you can approach want to be approached too. And it just opened up the floodgates for me. And now I have no problem approaching anyone, because it just made me understand that everybody is a normal person. And so I think that built my sales confidence to really get to where I'm at now.
I think that's a very powerful lesson for people listening in that has the same issue, because that's quite prevalent. It's more prevalent than probably people will care to admit. I had the same issue. And I guess ultimately business is about skill, but also a lot is a mindset. And
Hmm.
if you don't feel that on an equal level to talk in particular, to communicate, that can be a very big setback. So when you sort this up, it's almost like halfway there. So mindset is super important. So you're talking about communication and improving that. Is there any other thing in particular or an early mistake that you still coach against today?
Let's just stay on communication. You know, one of the things that I stress highly is the speed of communication, of getting back to people, because I think people feel important when they get the attention that they're looking for, right? If somebody leaves me a voice message, I want to get back to that person. If somebody leaves me a text message, I want to get back to that person. If somebody is emailing me, I want to get back to that person as quickly as possible. But then when I'm in the presence of somebody, I don't want to be distracted when I'm talking to that person. I want to give that person my full attention. I think that's how I end up getting married, because my wife say I just made her feel comfortable. And you know, I've heard that from a bunch of people over the years, but I think she was the first one to tell me that. It's just that attention that you give that lock people in, make people kind of want to be in my space, and I want it because I'm showing that I want to be in their space, and it's all authentic. That's the big thing, is authenticity. I can't be fake. I can't be nobody else than who I am. And I feel like sometimes people feel like they have to be something else. They have to try to be at a grander scale than they already are. They're already at the grandest scale, because no one can be you. You're the best you that can ever be in this world. and then just tapping into that and just being authentic by the way you approach people, I think that draws people in.
Yeah, for sure. Because I guess the secret, like you say, of being authentic is being unique
Yeah.
and being yourself. Not try to imitate or try to be someone else. Just be yourself, and that will reflect in your authenticity. And that's the best thing and the best way to be.
Mhm.
And that's great. Now, I guess still within a particular personal realm, when we talk about personal grounding, because as a leader, you've got several interests. What grounds you? Is it family? Is it a particular routine, a habit that keeps you consistent? Is there anything that you like to share with us?
I would say that it's family and also, a challenge of what can I get accomplished. Actually, today I just met a challenge. I looked at myself on October 10th, the day after my anniversary. I'm sharing with my wife out in New Orleans. And I was like, dude, your body is not looking what it used to. So I was 200.5 pounds, and that's heavy for me. So on the 19th, I said, all right, I'm losing 12 pounds in 12 days. I have to October 31st to get under 260. And today, when I weighed myself, I was 258.6 pounds. But I tracked it every single day to make sure I was staying on track. Those type of things drive me. Last year, the Q4 of last year, I set out a goal to do 900,000 in revenue for my company. And I think some of my guys thought, the hell, we're not going to be able to do that. We only did like 800,000 in the first 3 quarters. We didn't get to 900,000. We got to 887,000, but I'll call that a win. We did more in the last quarter than we did all of the 3 quarters prior. And then I came into this year saying, hey, we want to more than double our revenue from last year. And we're doing that. And now next year, my goal is to get into that 10-figure revenue area. I haven't quite set the goal yet, but I know it's in that 10-figure revenue area. So, and it's not just about the money. It's about challenging myself. How good can I be? Because I know as I continue to challenge myself, I'm going to grow. I'm going to learn. I'm going to have to grow. I'm going to have to learn. Like in order to us to get to 10 figures, I got to add on another service. I got to add on is either going to be hazmat or drayage that I'm going to add on, or maybe it's going to be both. And so I'm doing all of the preliminary studies right now. So when we get to 2026, I'm ready to implement. But that stuff drives me. It's like, all right, what's next? What can I do? What can I accomplish? Because one of the things that I told myself, and one of the reasons I have the goal for building $100 million company is that I said I was going to do something more significant financially than play football. So this is it. And that has nothing to do with me versus me. And that stuff it just drives me. It just creates that competitive nature. And then the people I have around me, I get to not only help them and drive them, but help them to create the lives that they want. One of my proudest moments was when my agent bought his house recently, and now he's having his first kid. And the one of the questions that I asked him is, "Well, how do you feel about the money that you're making?" He was like, "Oh, it's decent, but always looking to make more." So I was like, "Let's sit down and see how we do that." And so I implemented a strategy for him to get him more leads, that we're both investing in. That type of stuff, man, you can't beat that. You can't beat the fact that, I had a small part to play in his growth and him starting his family. But at the same time, it's helping me and it's helping the company. And then, where's it gonna go from there? That's the stuff that drive me. And getting back to the original thing, my family, as I continue to grow and I help other people grow, it only provides more and more for my family.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm trying to remember if it was Napoleon Hill that said, if you want to create wealth, help as many people as you can, but genuinely help them. I think it was Napoleon Hill, if I remember correctly.
It was either him or Jim
Ron.
Jim Rome, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could have been Jim Rom, actually. You might be right. You say that the secret to create wealth is to genuinely try to help as many people as possible, and then wealth will come in return.
To get what
No,
you want, help as many people get what they want.
that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. To get what you want, help as many people to get what they want. That's right. I remember that. Okay, I guess you mentioned revenue, so that kind of shifts a little bit the conversation from away from you, but more into freight and logistics. So in terms of industry trends, where are you seeing the better deals right now and why?
Heavy haul for sure. Heavy haul is our biggest producer of revenue and definitely give us the most margin just because of the complexity of it. And then, my team is so they're skilled enough that they just don't handle the transport. And so, okay, we'll get a truck out there for you. If we need to help loading, we'll bring the cranes out and we'll disassemble, we'll reassemble, we'll take it from, hey, it's sitting there. All right, let it sit there. We'll do everything that we need to do for you guys to get it from there to wherever you want to take it. And we're one-stop shop. So I don't think I know that's for us the biggest earner and the biggest revenue driver for us for this year. And we're only expanding on that going into 2026.
So in terms of on-time pickup and on-time delivery, which one is harder to fulfill, and how do you kind of
With
overcome?
heavy haul, the thing with heavy haul is when you get something that's 300,000 pounds, we're going to be there on time. But trying to load that thing, whatever that thing is, you can face some challenges when you get there that was unforeseen, right? And we may have budgeted in 3 hours for loading, and then it took 8 hours because they tried to load it, but then the weight wasn't balanced, right? So they got to unload it and then, figure out how we got to load it and get it on there the right way, because that thing can't move off of the premises until it's loaded the right way. And then on the delivery side of it, if we have all of our permits and everything in order the right way, the delivery should be fine and on time. But you still, every now and again, 1 out of 25 have some type of hiccup just with the route where you're going, where, hey, the municipality sheriff's office may say, hey, we need to put a hold on this for a day because of whatever, right? You run into things like that. Very rarely do we run into things where we didn't calculate for a bridge or something, something like that, but it happens. But in heavy haul, we don't have too many problems. Now, when you're talking about your standard everyday dry van, and your standard loads, because we do so many of those, and then we're relying on carriers that we can't control. You have that where a carrier may tell you, hey, I'm offloading at 1 o'clock, so I could be to the pickup at 2 o'clock, and they get to the offloading place and they're backed up. And so now he's calling us and saying, hey, well, I'm not going to get offloaded until 2:30 now. So now we got to go and tell our customer he's not going to be there until 3:30. So you have those type of things. I would say with Bear Down Logistics, we're very good at controlling the things that we can control, but it's logistics. You're going to have some of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks for being so transparent. So I guess when you think of what's working now for bad logistics, what would you say is the things that are really making the business thrive? Is it heavy haul? Is anything else in particular that is working really well for you?
I think it's the people, man. It's the people that I have. I have experts in different areas. I have experts in heavy hauling. He has his own team. I have an expert with agent and a broker that he majors in show freight, where they go and set up all of these different conferences and stuff like that. He moves stuff like that all around the nation for different companies. We finally have a guy that can specialize in hazmat. That's why we're talking about bringing it on for 2026. I have my government guys that they're specialists at finding those contracts, reading through those contracts and bidding on those contracts. So, I can't do all of that stuff by myself. So I need to rely on those people and just make sure that we're all cohesive, that we're all moving in the same direction. But if anything, it's not necessarily one of these silos that makes Bear Down Logistics have the success that it's been having. It's the people within that's operating within those silos that have that expert knowledge that can get the job done. That's creating the success for Bear Down Logistics.
Yeah, sure. So partnerships are, I guess, in a nutshell.
Yes.
Now, of course, like with other, I mentioned before, with the roller coaster, there's always ups and downs. So that's what's working well. So if you think now we're going down the roller coaster, what's a bit challenging? What's something you wish you can tweak a little bit further to make it a bit more of a fine-tuned system behind the scenes?
I wish we can get rid of all these freaking double brokers out here, man. Just trying to fight all of the fraud and everything that's going on. And I wish there was a foolproof way for us to just weed all of that stuff out, right? Over the years we've had a handful of lows that was double broker, right? Not a whole lot, but it happened, right? And I'm not gonna shy away from, we did all of the protocols that we should have done, but they still got through. It was one in particular, when I found out what they did and how they did it, I was like, damn, that was pretty good.
So there's a fraud basically, right? So they
Yeah,
pretend.
yeah. Yeah, they pretend like, I don't know how they get other people's information. I think that is a FMCSA deal that they need to kind of tighten up, where these people are not able to get a legitimate company's information and be able to register all of that stuff. And when we check it, everything checks out, and they're able to go and do the fraud. Like I said, 4 years, we've probably had one a year, maybe yeah, I would say about one a year that we had to deal with. But when that stuff comes up, it's gut wrenching, because you don't know, like, what's the outcome. Now for us, we've been fortunate that when our stuff has been double brokered, but every time but once, the guy that double brokered it actually worked out where everybody got paid, besides one time where we paid that double broker, and then that other carrier came back to us like, "Hey, you guys owe us money." It was like, "We already paid for this." Come to find out, it had been double brokered. So, just really, you ask what's kind of the downside. That type of stuff is hurts. And then the other thing that hurts also, we've had around this time last year, maybe a year and a few months ago, we had a company that just totally shut down and sent us an email, said that they were shutting their doors and that they were not going to pay us. I actually posted a little bit about this on LinkedIn today. What do you do in that situation where everything was, we had this customer for over a year, and it wasn't a big customer, but it was a customer, and then they loaded us up in a year. I mean, in 1 month, with more loads than they typically do, and then said, "Oh, we're shutting our doors. Thank you for all of your service, and you're getting nothing out of this month's worth of loads." So, what do you do in a situation like that, right? But that goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. Now you have an obstacle. Now you have adversity. Now how are you gonna get through this, and then how are you gonna grow from it? So yeah, so it's things like that I look at, and it's more people related than process and systems related, because it's the and systems, you always have people behind those, and people run this world, because AI has to be programmed. All this stuff has to be programmed by a person, right? And so it's me more so, how do we keep the people honest and respectful and doing the right thing? That's a hard one for anybody to answer, and I certainly don't have the answer for that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But that kind of leads me to my next question, because you mentioned people and systems, and most businesses ultimately function because of the people they have. And I can tell that you really invest your trust and probably even your coaching skills in making sure that you've got the right people around you, and partnerships are very important. But within your business, is there a particular workflow that you like to automate that is not automated at the moment?
Yeah, my workflow from my TMS system to my factoring company. Now, I love my guys over at Alvis. I've been with them since their early days, and they've helped me grow a lot. But we've been kind of slow with getting that TMS system integrated with the factoring company, so we don't have to do two times of work with invoicing our loads and then having it be attached to our QuickBooks account. So right now, the invoicing and the reconciliation of payments, we're doing a little extra work that we shouldn't have to do, just because those systems are not synced together. QuickBooks and Alvis is synced together, but Alvis and our factoring company is not synced together. I need to reach out to my people over there at Alvis and say, "Hey man, it's tick tick tick. Like, you guys promised me this. When we gonna get it done?"
Is there an API that can connect both?
Yes,
There is
absolutely.
one. And can the Elvis people help that API integrate?
Yeah, they can definitely do it. It's just when is it that time on their calendar with everything else that they're doing with making their services better and provide not just for Bear Down Logistics, but the hundreds of customers that they have, hundreds of clients like myself that they have on their system. So I understand I'm not the only one that's looking to get stuff done. But again, it's time.
I understand. And is there a situation where maybe an external party could create that integration?
Say that one more time.
Is there a situation where like an external party, other than the Elvis system or the factoring company that you use, could do that integration for you?
As far as changing to someone else so it could be integrated?
Not necessarily change, but have someone do the integration for you rather than relying on the company to do it for you.
Well, I don't know if they're gonna let an outside third party get into their systems.
If
So
they
if
have an API, potentially they might.
they may, I don't know. That's a question that never came up. I didn't even know to ask that question because I just assumed that, hey, Hall Pay and Alvis, they would get together and get that done with the people that do that for each different company.
I understand, I understand. And other than the kind of invoice and factoring integration, is there anything else you like to automate? Do you think is ripe for automation within your workflows?
I think everything else is there. I think we're pretty good with our processes and our SOPs and making sure that everything that could be automated is automated. Like I say, Alvis is a top-notch system which automates a lot for us. So if it is something, it's probably something that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I understand. The next question I like to ask is it's a question I ask, I think, pretty much everyone I interview because there's a little bit of a sparkle of magic on that question, and I like magic. Not that I'm a magician, but I like watching magic. And the question is, if you had the magic wand and you could change one thing overnight about bed and logistics, what would it be?
Magic wand, I could
Could change one thing overnight, anything it could be.
That's a good question. What would I don't have anything that's coming to mind.
That's a good thing in a way. That
Yeah.
shows contentment and you're happy with how things are at the moment. Because
Yeah.
if there was anything pressing for you, it probably will be on the tip of your mind. But if you are in a situation where things are stable and running like they should be, that's probably the most obvious answer you can give, which is nothing comes to mind because everything is ticking along quite nicely. So
Yeah,
that's actually quite
we've had nice growth this year. October was our best month of our company history as far as revenue and profit. So, we're doing good. We're getting last year we finished out and they could go back and hear the numbers that I talked about and do the math on what we actually did last year. And this year, my goal was to double that. And let's just say we've done that already.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yes.
Well done. Super. Now, I guess if growth was guaranteed, where would you invest first? I think I might have a feeling I might know the answer, but then again, I might not. Will it be people, systems, or marketing?
What comes first, the chicken or the egg? I guess think we have the systems in place for the growth that we're looking for next year. I believe that's in place. We will have to increase our marketing budget as we continue to grow, so we can continue to bring in more and more. But as we bring in more and more, we need the people to handle that that increase and influx of opportunity. So that's why I say what comes first, the chicken or the eggs. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna say this, and this is how I've been doing it. Tell you the truth, I would invest into the marketing side because that's actually what we've been doing. And then once we get to that inflection period where things are about to pop open and the staff that works with me is getting a little bit overwhelmed and that's when now we have to go and add on new people. That was a hard lesson that I learned after my first 7 or 8 months being in this business. October, November, December of 2022, my first year in business, we were finally like, oh, we're making money now. Every month we're gaining and we're actually in the black. So what did I do January of 2023? I hired all these new people, right? And then I was they say that they can bring in this much. Okay, let's go. This person said they could bring in this much. Okay, let's go. This person said they could bring in this much. Okay, cool, let's go. Now I got to get all of this. I got to get a couple staff members so we can help them do what they do and be the back office for them. Well, none of those people brought in anything, and I'm paying them, some 2 salaries, and I just started to bleed cash. And I had to, like, by June of that year, I had to cut all of those people but one person. And that was the one person that was an independent contractor. And I was like, he's the only one that's making any money around here. He's the only one that's doing anything. And so that's the reason I have my company set up the way it's set up now, because everybody who I was paying to be there, they didn't produce. But the one guy who wasn't being paid to be there, he was hustling his ass off. And so I cut everybody but him and one other support staff and myself in the summer of 2023, and we started this thing all over again. And yeah, we ended up 2023 pretty solid. And then 2024, we kept growing on top of that. And then I've added, more independent contractors that that's here, that's helping to grow the business now. But I learned that lesson quickly, is like, you can't add the people on until you have opportunity for them to come in and actually, I'm gonna use manage for a lack of better terms.
Because ultimately, businesses, I know a lot of people focus on profit and margin, but ultimately it's all about cash flow. Cash flow is king. And if
Yes.
the cash flow gets strangled in labor costs and any other costs, because now, as you know, utilities and cost of goods and everything going up, if there is not a way to control those costs, it just spirals out of control. You mentioned something that caught my curiosity. You mentioned that you would like to invest in marketing. I'll be curious, what are you doing at the moment in marketing, and what would you like to be doing in the future that you're not doing at the moment?
So, the one of the main reasons for our growth is we found a really kick-ass SEO marketing group, and I had tried SEO before in other industries, mainly when I was in the financial industry, and it never worked. All these promises, oh, you're gonna get these leads, this, that, and the other, and never worked. Just threw away a whole bunch of money. But when I brought on my heavy haul expert, he was adamant about it. He was so adamant about it, Chris, that he said, "You know what? I'll fund half of it." I was like, "Okay." So if you're gonna put your money where your mouth is, then I'm listening. All right, let's go down this road. And we went out, and he did all of the, hey, well, let's set up a meeting with this guy and talk to this guy. And so we listened to the people that we listened to, and we both felt like our marketing company that we have, they were the best, because they were willing to go over and beyond the call of duty to educate us on what they thought that we needed to do, to the point like I thought I was taking advantage of them because we're not paying them, but they're doing all of this educating with no promises, right? No promises of that we're gonna work with them. And man, we made the right choice, and they have helped us to grow our footprint um for searches. And man, we get in 10, 15 leads a day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then some of those leads, most of them are singles, but then some of those leads are doubles, triples, and a handful of home runs every now and again. And that's why we've been able to grow like we've been able to grow. So we started that last December, and then we seen the growth, and we doubled down on it in July and added another significant amount, or our first significant amount. We was paying like a smaller amount monthly, but it was like, okay, it's time to pour some gasoline on this fire. So we put 6 figures into it, and yeah, man, it's been paying off. Now when it started paying off, we had to learn how to manage the leads, because we were getting in so many leads that some of them was falling through the cracks, right? So we had to figure out a better way to manage those leads, which we're doing now, and also not to manage it, but to learn how to look at those leads and say, okay, which categories are we doing the best in? And where should we be allocating more funds to, based off of our conversion rate? And what are we converting more than others? Where are they coming from? Are they organic? Are they Google ads? All of this stuff. So that's where we're at now with, how do we not only manage it to capture the leads and service the leads, but be smarter about where we're allocating the funds at so we get more bang for the buck.
I understand. Do you have a lead management process in place?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we work on HubSpot right now for that lead management CRM. That's what we work on right now.
Okay. And in terms of new marketing, have you kind of explored your horizon? Where would you like to go next with your marketing?
We're probably gonna stay in the same lane with the SEO and ad spend that we have, but we're gonna add more areas outside of the heavy haul that we're doing currently. Like I said, we may be in
Hazmat and
drayage or hazmat.
yeah. And
And
but
then
you
the
use
other
this
thing is I had a podcast before. We may jump back into the podcast and more so just so people can see who we are. They can hear us. They can go and be like, all right, let me check these people out. And then when they see us and then they get the work and the quality of the work, they can match those two together. Okay, they are who they say they are. They do have good ideas. I do identify with how they do their work. Yeah, they did have some setbacks. They're just like us. But how do they overcome those and telling those stories, man? I'm a motivational speaker also, and being able to tell those stories and then help other people to elevate. I think that drives that brand, and you may see it right back here on my wall. Process of greatness.
the
And
gray.
being 1%. I believe in that. And I believe that everybody has that seed of greatness in them. Whether they're cultivating it or not, that's up to them. But it's there. And I believe everybody can be great at something. And that's one of my goals is to, give all of this stuff back. It was given to me. I had to, learn some of it on my own, but the information was out there. It didn't come from nowhere. Somebody put it out there. So it was given to me, and all I want to do is give it back and help other people get to where they want to go also.
Yeah, pay it forward. Yeah, I get that. Now, when it comes to your marketing, you talked about SEO and you've got your lead system in place. In terms of the marketing, are you doing anything with content marketing or are you doing anything with email marketing?
Not necessarily. We don't do anything with email marketing, but we put out a great deal of content. This year, I would say we probably have over 200 blogs out there right now.
You mean blog posts or blogs?
Blog posts.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I do a lot of, I haven't this year because I was really focused on making sure that the money that we are spending with the SEO and the ads was going the right way. But I typically do a lot of this speaking and putting these things out here. That's probably how you found me. One of the things I got to do is get back to that and start putting out more of this visual video content.
And do you do anything with Instagram or with the LinkedIn content, or is it just blog posts? Or do you
No,
have a wider content strategy?
no, LinkedIn is where I put all of my relevant business content. Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all of those, it may be good for some, but for me, I just choose not to. I just don't see those platforms being where my core customers are ready to make a decision.
I understand. Because it's more like B2B rather than just B2C.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I'm just conscious of time.
hmm
I had one or more questions to ask you, but I think I'm going to start wrapping up because
Now go ahead. I can answer short. I want to make sure that you get all your questions out. I'll keep my answers real short so we can get through them.
No, that's fine. I mean, I respect your time and I really appreciate you being here. So that's very kind of you. I mean, one of the questions I had was around culture, but we can skip that and then just go
Well,
straight to
really,
the
really quick
lightning
on
round.
culture. Let me speak on that because I talked to my team yesterday about culture, and I want them to understand that culture to me means what is our personality as a whole, as this company, not what other people perceive outside, but who we are inside. And I had that talk with them yesterday. So that's what culture is to me. What is our personality with each other inside of Bear Down Logistics that permeates outside, but it's not about the outside. It's about what goes on within these virtual walls.
That's interesting because I think you're quite big in morning hurdles, right?
hmm
So what's the simple cadence that keeps everyone aligned?
It's our values. the process of greatness, executing the details and excellence consistently over time. We can all
Okay.
do that. It's a choice whether you want to do it or not. And I try to make sure that everybody is willing to make that decision to do those 5 things every day. Execute, honor the details, do it in excellence, do it consistently, and do it every time, all the time.
That's quite a good one. I mean, I was going to ask you beyond huddles, what are the rituals builds trust fast? So I guess having those in mind is fine. But is there anything like you do, like call listening? Do you have a sales team? Do you have a calls listening process, or do you have customer callbacks or any stuff like that?
That's something that I don't have. That's something that I do need to implement because getting that feedback from our customers is going to be critical for our growth moving forward. And we do not have that in place. I mean, all of our customer feedback is individualized with the individual brokers for those accounts, making sure that they stay in good contact and in good form with those customers that they have. But we don't have that process in place where we're doing surveys and they're giving us feedback and telling us what we can do better and what we're doing good that they're excited about, that they like. And that's something that we actually talked about at the beginning of this year. And again, I'm not afraid to point out where we fall short. We never did implement that this year.
You mean customer callbacks?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have like a core team that does call or sales calls? Do you have like a sales kind of operation in place?
No, so the way we're set up, so Bear Down Logistics, we're the back office for our broker agents. Our broker agents, they're independent contractors. They're going out building their book of business. When they bring opportunity to Bear Down Logistics, they put it on our board. And now when it goes up on the load board, it's our job to make sure that all that stuff is picked up, dropped off, communicated, tracked, invoiced, and get them paid. So that's our job on the back end for our broker agents. And our broker agents, they're charged with going out, getting customer share, and bringing opportunity back and letting us handle it.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So I'm going to ask you two quick questions and then we'll wrap it up if it's okay. One of them is, what is your recommended book or podcast for the other operators out there? And the ultimate one, I think you told me at the beginning of the conversation, but I'd like to kind of hear that take again, is what keeps you motivated and passionate? You mentioned there's this kind of jewel within you where you're bettering yourself and you like to see the you didn't say that, but you like to see the happiness that you bring to people, like you helped your coach. So that's something I guess is what keeps you passionate. But I would like to hear it from you. So one is a recommended book or a podcast, and what keeps you passionate?
Freight Caviar is one that I would recommend as a podcast. But listen, this book right here called the Holy Bible. So I don't want to say anything too controversial. I believe that people read this at a surface level and they miss some of the points in it about how to go about your daily life. Like I love and I just posted this today, Luke 17:21. You know, they say Jesus was saying that the kingdom is, nobody can say, oh, look over here, look over there, because the kingdom of God is within. And so I believe that if we were created in his image and he is one with us, then there's nothing outside of us that we need to create whatever it is that we're aligned with. And when I say aligned with, I mean, our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions are all geared to this outcome that we're trying to create. And there's so much in that book that when I read now that I used to read when I was young, I was like, man, I done read that thing 1,000 times, but boom, I get it now. So that will be a book. And then also Principles of Winning by Desmond Clark will be a book too, that I would recommend, just because it's mindset stuff. It's mindset. When your mind is set on a certain thing, typically you have better chances, more outstanding chances of getting to where you're trying to go. But your mind has to be set and it can't keep going. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve positive and negative. You can't serve good and bad. You can't serve the good thought and the bad thought. You can't serve the good thought and the good emotion and the bad emotion. You can't serve the good action and the action that's taking you away. You gotta serve one or the other. And if you are double-minded, like it says in this book, that's gonna create chaos. It's not gonna create success. So
That's very good. I mean, something that brings me back to the beginning of our conversation when we're talking about basically face the struggle. And we talked about there are like lean times and good times. There's actually a parable in the Bible that talks about the 7 years of fruitful harvest and the 7 years of drought that you have to prepare when you've got your
mhm.
barrels full of hay and wheat. So, yeah, the Bible is very profound. There's a lot of good stuff there. So, this brings me to the end of this podcast. So thanks very much for sitting at the table of the operators table.
Yes,
And
sir.
for everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Follow us wherever you listen our podcast and share it with someone who loves hearing real stories from real operators. Today's guest was Desmond Clark from Bear Down Logistics. I'm Chris, and this is the Operators Table, where we meet the people who keep business moving. And thanks for listening. But just before we leave our audience, is there any particular websites or links or resources you'd like to share with our audience?
No, man, I'm just happy that I was able to come on here and tell my story and hopefully gave somebody one piece of experience or advice that I went through that can help them to become the greatest person and business owner or whatever that is that they can be.
Thank you very much.